goes away.
For every 5 admired comedians, there's another 5 who are completely despised, and it's no secret that joke thief Dane Cook fits snugly into category 2. In 2005, Dane Cook was listed as the world's most famous comic, although despite being known by an audience of millions, he was notably hated by every other comedian. A comedy radio host stated, "Not one comedian comes on my show and says I'm so happy for him, which is weird. They can't stand this poor guy, the reason for which being jealousy, at least according to Dane."
A lot of jealousy, a lot of animosity that I, at a young age, was famous, hanging around with beautiful women, rich.
Although the real reason might have been because Dane had stolen their jokes, given he was called out for copying a bit done by Louis C.K.
Bro, comedians are so sassy with their jokes and with humor. They're like, "That's my joke! That's my story! You stole it!" And like, people steal jokes, yeah, but like at the same time, bro, we've all been alive for so long. We've all like there's nothing new under the fucking sun.
Name your kid anything you want. I like that part. I'd like to give my kid an interesting name, you know? Like a name with no vowels, maybe, you know?
Isn't that insane that like in 2001 this guy would sell out like a whole arena and people would pay, you know, $80, $100 for a ticket, take their wife on a date, dress up in a suit to go like a nice comedy house? And that this is the fucking joke. Like this is the joke. Like I don't know. Is this just like old humor? Like am I missing it?
Just like 40 Fs. That's his name.
I already have names picked out. I don't even know. First kid, boy, girl. I don't care. The first one that comes out, I'm naming it. I think it's beautiful. It's feminine but strong at the same time. Time for bed. I said time for bed!
Fans then noticed Dane had also copied a bit by Dimitri Martin at around the same time.
I went into a shoe store and I said, "Hey, can I get those in a 10? The guy said, "Sure," and he went in the back. And a couple minutes later he came out and he goes, "I don't have a 10, I have a 9. Great. Because while you were in the back, my toes were severed off.
She walks out. She comes up to me, you guys, so enthusiastic, such like optimism. She's holding a boot. She comes right up to me and she goes, "We have it in a 9. Great, you guys also have a bone saw anywhere nearby?"
With Patrick CC running through even more examples in this video before touching on another reason Dane Cook is hated. His joke about the Batman movie theater shooting.
So I heard that the guy came into the theater about 25 minutes into the movie. I don't know if you've seen the movie. The movie's pretty much a piece of crap. Pretty sure that somebody in that theater about 25 minutes in realizing it was a piece of crap probably was like, "Oh, shoot me."
The controversial...
What the fuck? The shoe size? Yeah, literally a bone saw. What the fuck? First of all, that movie was good.
The joke resulted in article after article, as well as Twitter posts reading, "Anyone who knows me knows I think Dane Cook is the single worst comedian ever. He's never been funny. Now he's just an awful human being." But while Dane Cook isn't liked for his disrespectful and sometimes stolen jokes, Theo Von is hailed for his unusual originality.
Bro, I love Theo Von.
His sense of humor has been described as so creative, unique, hilarious, and unorthodox that I can't compare him to any other comedian, which summarizes Theo Von perfectly.
There's a few guys, Theo's one of them, that have like a style of comedy that you will never be able to explain to someone. They gotta go see him.
When you hear him say, "We had this one guy," you know you're about to hear a wild story full of bizarre situations and metaphors described in the strangest yet most perfect way possible.
I like Theo Von.
Gentleman had half a limb, and he
which limb?
He was missing part of his leg, I think, or he said he was, so he could have been faking it.
CGI or something?
I don't know what his name was. CJ, it was a white dude.
Okay, yeah.
He's the absolute king of the metaphor. Whenever he says something is kinda like etc., it's always the funniest, most outlandish comparison I've ever heard.
You look like a guy if somebody had a cheat code in Double Dragon, bro. And they got to use an ultimate character, man.
Dan Tony.
Amen, dude.
There are multiple compilations dedicated to Theo Von's absolutely wild sayings, although at the same time, he's able to show his softer, more vulnerable side in moments where it's appropriate. Theo's podcast this past weekend has risen to become the 7th most popular podcast on Spotify.
I didn't even know he had a podcast. Oops, I muted it. I wasn't even aware of that.
become the 7th most popular podcast on Spotify.
I think I like Diovan's clips a lot in short-term comedy. Like his long-form comedy isn't as funny to me.
Schaub's bad reputation has caused his podcast
this guy's
to trend
annoying.
in the opposite direction. Brennan had previously been a UFC fighter. However, after a string of losses, he was convinced by Joe Rogan and Brian Callen to retire and instead pursue comedy.
You have a future in other things and you're really good at. Like, you're really funny.
You say funny shit, man.
Yeah, you do. You have a ridiculous talent for that.
Although with comments on Brennan's stand-up like, this is the best example of normal people thinking they're funny because they make their friends laugh, his sets aren't exactly the greatest. His first stand-up special titled You'd Be Surprised received an IMDb rating of 1.4.
What? 1.4? He's like a frat douche.
4 out of 10 stars and was labeled in front of millions as the worst comedy special I've ever seen.
Bro, we gotta see some of it.
It was so bad that even Joe Rogan made a few little jokes about it.
The first one, I would have probably tried to talk you out of it, but I already talked you out of fighting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't talk him out of this too.
However, for Brendan, the worst was yet to come.
Damn!
3 years after his first special, Brendan Schaub released another one titled Gringo Papi, which received an even lower IMDb score.
How do you go lower? How? Than 1.4.
Of 1.1 out of 10 stars, meaning he was unable to sell it to a major buyer like Netflix. Instead, he uploaded the special to his YouTube channel, where it received an 85% dislike
Oh my god.
ratio and comments such as, damn, this guy sure has some hidden talent. Hope he finds it one day. Every time I feel down, I watch Gringo Papi. Then I realize whatever has me down or whatever
Chat, remind me, we gotta go watch Gringo Papi after this to see how unfunny this guy is.
adversity I am facing isn't as bad as this comedy special. You know it's a Brennan Schaub stand-up special when the comments are funnier than the actual video. With the stand-up again being labeled as the worst comedy special of all time, it seems Brennan's main problem is that he isn't very skilled, and the audience has therefore been gravitating towards Shane Gillis. He got his big break in 2019 after being cast on Saturday Night Live, which he was then fired from immediately after the media dug up controversial comments made on his podcast.
And then I got canceled immediately.
You got canceled on the way.
They literally were like, how about this guy? And everyone was like, no.
Shane responded by writing, I'm a comedian who pushes boundaries. Sometimes I miss. If you go through my 10 years of comedy, most of it bad, you're going to find a lot of bad misses. But while this made him unsuitable for SNL, this was ironically exactly what the wider comedy audience wanted. No wonder SNL fired him. He's actually funny. This in combination with the mountain
SNL has fallen off so much.
of press from the incident took Shane's popularity to a whole new level.
The months after SNL, our listenership probably quadrupled. Because then people heard about it and watched it.
So it's helped the podcast.
Like, this is actually funny.
So it's helped the podcast.
Tremendously.
Only made crazier when he'd post his live set in Austin, which gained over 20 million views by touching on funny political topics, although in a good way where it felt like he didn't have an agenda.
And I don't want to be on the other side of it where it's like, I'm a free speech guy. It's like, dude, I don't want to be involved in any of this. I just want to do comedy.
Shane's great attitude and likable personality has made him the most subscribed person on Patreon with around 75,000 paid members, in comparison to Carrot Top, whose style was so unique the whole industry turned against him. He gained popularity as a prop comic in the 90s, but while his shows were extremely smart and absolutely hilarious,
O.J. Simpson's football. Okay, go deep, honey. Go deep. Go.
his bizarre look and style made him a punching bag for anybody and everybody.
You're a funny guy, man, and you you at least used to take a lot of shit, and I never understood it.
I don't either. I never have.
That's him now? What the fuck?
Get shit for everything.
It's like Nickelback.
This became most obvious when Carrot Top simply flew over his city in a fighter jet.
And the next day on the front page of the paper, Carrot Top disrupts city with flyover. And everyone's up in arms because the building shook and everybody was like, oh, what, there's a war happening? And I think they were really honestly just pissed because it was me.
And in a Reddit thread,
honestly, I've always heard jokes about Carrot Top this, Carrot Top that. Old people say, oh, you like Carrot Top. Now I know what they're talking about.
About him, the only reasons people had to hate Carrot Top was he's annoying, not funny, and comes across as a gigantic douchebag, which pretty much confirms the theory. Carrot Top's name has become synonymous with bad comedian we should make fun of. In another article, Carrot Top was described as the most successful comedian no one will admit to liking, with one of these haters being another comedy legend.
So is Billboard just going coals on me? I mean, just right? I mean, just bad.
Who then apologized to Carrot Top.
What the fuck is he wearing?
After meeting him in person.
And then when I finally meet him, he was like, dude, I am so sorry. Like, he came and hugged me. And
Carrot Top was hated for so long that he's now considered a legend.
They're kind of like saying, you know what, geez, he won't go away. We've been ripping on him, but he's for some reason, he's still around, and you know what, he can stay now.
You had somebody
I've earned my wings.
With Bobby Lee having earned his wings in a similar kind of way. One of the things that makes Bobby Lee so likable is his ability to laugh at himself for the sake of audience entertainment.
Bro, you're the worst looking of all of us.
What do you think he is out of 10, for real?
You're a 2, buddy.
2, buddy.
You're like a 2.5 at most, probably closer to a 1.5.
Give me a bigger number.
Okay. You want an honest number?
No, honest.
Okay. You want the honest number?
Please.
I was being generous as a 1.5.
I'm a 1.5?
Something close to 1.7
Did you say
or something.
one?
Showing that he's comfortable in his own skin. This helps him deliver some of the
Imagine your friends say like, yeah, I legitimately think you're a 1 out of 10. That's fucked.
Savage roasts on the internet.
My dad abandoned me, but then I love my mom. In your face! He doesn't have a dad!
Although just like Theo Von, his fans also have a lot of respect for how open he is with his addiction issues and sobriety.
Right before I was gonna get on the plane, I looked at my girlfriend and said, I'm gonna relax.
When it comes to Bobby Lee's stand-up, a Reddit user wrote, I've seen him do the same set at the Comedy Store like 3 or 4 times, and I nearly cried laughing each time, while another person called it the hardest I've laughed at a comedy show of a decent slate of shows. It seems Bobby Lee finds love from the audience regardless of what he's doing, while the audience has recently been finding many reasons to hate Tom Segura. At the start of his career, Tom Segura was one of the more humble comedians. However, after losing over 50 pounds and building a net worth of 12 million, his ego became incredibly obvious. He'd begin to joke about the general population by calling them poors.
So I've received a remarkable number of messages, countless poor people, about the use of a washcloth in the shower. And, you know, it's very well known.
However, it quickly became obvious that he wasn't really joking.
Every time we talk about like a watch or a car, I'll get a bunch of messages from losers that try to tell me that I'm making them feel bad about their situation. I'm struggling with rent this month. Figure it the f*** out.
In October 2023, Tom tweeted about being inconvenienced by American Airlines, and after being called entitled by his fans, Tom responded by stating all the poors and losers have the same response. Oh, you were inconvenienced, well you should accept it. That's what me and my dumb poor family have done for generations. This is why you're poor. In his next tweet, he'd respond to a fan by
he said watches for poor people,
simply writing poor, while a third tweet read, the lowest level poors get upset, as they've been trained to do when you point out they're happy to do what I'm told servant mentality. They don't value time because
what the fuck?
Their time is worthless. You are specks of shit on a washcloth and washcloths belong in the trash. The rant instantly turned Tom into laughing stock for the internet.
Probably not that much money left over for the guys in the booth either. It's all Tom and Christina just running around, getting on private jets, making fun of poor people.
While others dug deep to find his wealth was likely inherited.
It turns out Tom was a trust fund kid. His father was the vice president and chief financial advisor of Merrill Lynch for 25 years until he took over as the vice president and CFA for the Bank of America. His obituary mentions.
I mean, bro, like, I don't feel like if he says like, oh, you're poor, like, and I am poor, like, I don't give a fuck. I mean, bro, you think I don't know that? Like, I can kind of understand. I don't think he should call people poor and have that attitude, but like at the same time, bro, like, if someone's making a joke or living their life and they're rich and like they show their rich car and like you get bothered by that, I think that's kind of dumb. I feel like flexing on you and calling you poor and brokey and being a dick. Yeah, like at the same time, bro, like I get I'm poor. I'm not bothered by that. Like I'm not like out here fucking fiending for money or anything.
That he was a member of the Quail Valley Golf Club in.
I think it blows my mind though that there are people like this guy and others who literally like that's all it is to their life. Like he genuinely thinks that like because he has money and this stuff that like that's like adding, and like it does. Like anyone who says money doesn't help with happiness is stupid. Money definitely does help. But at the same time, this guy's like put like his whole value and identity to his money and accomplishments. You know, I mean, bro, if you're poor, you're poor. I'm poor. Fuck it, bro. I mean, it is what it is. We don't try to be poor. Oh, hell no, I'm not trying to be.
Vero Beach, where a membership will run you a very modest $85,000 a year, not counting all of the other fees.
This led Tom to remove the entire chain of airport tweets and avoid every question that might imply he's rich.
What kind of car you have?
What kind?
You have cars?
Yeah,
How many cars you got? You alright?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking.
Tom Segura has no excuse for being a douchebag, given Gabriel Iglesias is substantially richer.
I never liked Gabriel Iglesias. I don't know if you got. I don't think he's funny at all.
And is one of the most humble comedians. When you type Gabriel Iglesias controversy into Google, it seems the worst thing he's ever done is pay a fine to a venue for spending too much time recording a Netflix special. Back in 2014, one of these specials was leaked and uploaded to YouTube for free, although instead of issuing a copyright takedown, he'd share the links to his Facebook, adding, "I can't believe someone posted a direct link to watch my fluffy specials online for free. The nerve. I hope no one shares or watches these before they get taken down," prompting a top comment reading, "This is why you're awesome, Fluffy. You don't whine about getting pirated, you promote it." Gabriel's nickname Fluffy is a joke about his own weight, which like Bobby Lee shows he's comfortable in his own skin. Although at the same time, Gabriel explained to Joe Rogan that he'd recently lost 70 pounds as a result of following better habits. And it was bad habits that led Carlos Mencia to—
Yeah, I don't like disliking for his personality. He's just not funny. His pubes on his face.
Become incredibly hated. The collapse of his reputation began after Joe Rogan wrote a blog post titled "Carlos Mencia is a weak-minded joke thief," which read, "The latest and most disgusting joke thief of all is a guy named Carlos Mencia. The really crazy thing is that's not even his real name. He sells himself as being Mexican, but the reality is his real name is Ned Holness, and he's actually half German and half Honduran. The Mexican hook is something he did to integrate himself with the local Mexican population of LA where he started. From here, Joe began calling him Carlos Menstelia before confronting him on stage in an actual comedy club, which was recorded and uploaded to YouTube.
Bro, Joe Rogan has done so much in his life. As much as people hate on him, bro, like he actually has a pretty crazy, wild life, and like he's done UFC commentator, Fear Fact, like that's kind of wild.
YouTube.
It's easy to say you steal shit, but I don't, because I'm not a little bitch. I think that every time you open your mouth, you talk about me, I think that you're secretly in love with me.
Despite denying the allegations, Carlos was then exposed for stealing from Bill Cosby and Ari Shaffir.
I didn't go to a show with friends I didn't know I had.
After which Carlos made the crazy decision to own the fact that he stole all his jokes.
His attitude was this, like, yeah, I steal. If I'm in the back of the room, you better watch your material because I take it, remix it, and make it a hit.
From here, almost every comedian destroyed Carlos Mencia.
A lot of your material, I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of your material was too similar to Paul Mooney or Bill Hicks.
And he went from performing in stadiums to small clubs. There's a heavy price to pay for cutting corners in comedy, whereas Chris Rock discovered there's much to gain in the power of a single slap. Chris Rock has been admired and respected since the mid-1980s.
I like Chris Rock, medium. He's a decent actor, pretty funny comedian. I've never like been, you know, he's alright.
80s, although it seems being slapped by Will Smith.
I think my favorite part of Chris Rock was Escape to Madagascar.
It made him even more loved. Ironically, the Will Smith slap made Chris a beloved winner. Will Smith accomplished the impossible with one targeted slap. Now everybody loves Chris. This was reinforced when Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage, after which Chris Rock jumped on the mic to ask,
"Was that Will Smith?"
Chris Rock just proved that if someone does you wrong in life, just wait, and the perfect moment will present itself. Proud of Chris Rock. He didn't let the Will Smith incident take him to a place of bitterness and anger, but stays humble and even makes a joke out of such a difficult spot.
I mean,
to
I don't
be
like
in. That could not
hold like Chris Rock in like high esteem or regard anything. He's just like a regular dude to me.
Have a more perfect moment to drop that line. And the fact that Chris Rock wasn't really talking about the altercation before leading up to this just adds to the perfection of his delivery. And when Chris Rock did address the controversy in his special, he reinforced a winner's mindset.
But I'm not a victim,
donkey.
baby. You will never see me on Oprah or Gail.
True.
I couldn't believe it, and I love Men in Black. No, I took that hit like Pacquiao.
For every
real